Welcome into Hit That Line. I'm your host, Zach Berry. This show brought to you by the good folks at Home Field Apparel. We've had a bunch of people asking, have you got your Home Field Apparel stuff yet? Well, I think it shows that a lot of people wanted Home Field Apparel when the Ole Miss collection dropped because, man, they have been slammed with filling these orders. Mine is out for delivery, should be here, if not Saturday, it'll be here next week, just in time for Ole Miss, Alabama. If you want to get you some Ole Miss home field apparel gear, some swag for hanging around the house, going out running errands, if you want to get you some tab pad merch before Ole Miss basketball kicks off, go to homefieldapparel.com, search through the collections, find Ole Miss, and when you pick your items, be sure to use promo code TOC23. That'll give you 15% off your first order. That is homefieldapparel.com for all of your Ole Miss swag. Gentlemen, welcome into week 3. This is kind of like Thanksgiving before Christmas because week 4 is an elite slate, but we are still here to pick games and to pick winners because we had ourselves quite the week last week. Austin, Ben, Nick, good evening. Welcome in.
What's up?
Good to be here.
This is a tough slate, but we're here. We're gonna do the thing.
We are going to do the thing. Let's get it cranked up. 11 a.m. on Saturday. You have got LSU at Mississippi State on ESPN. Right now, it looks like the line has settled at 9.5. The Bulldogs, the host Mississippi State Bulldogs, are getting 9.5 points. I feel like this is a game that is moderately close from the jump, but I think LSU is going to be too good across the board talent-wise. I think Jaden Daniels runs around enough to make plays and to extend drives, all that good stuff. The change in offensive scheme is wild with how much Mississippi State runs the football now. I do not think they will have a ton of success running the football against LSU. And I think this might be the week that maybe LSU wakes up and puts Harold Perkins on the edge to get after Will Rogers. But I like LSU here. I'm going to lay the points.
I was told there wouldn't be a change in their offense.
Yeah, I thought they still passed the ball a lot.
Will Rogers has thrown 46 passes in 2 games. He was throwing more than 46 last year in 1 game.
That's what I was going to say. How many times did he throw more than 46 in a game? 9, 10, 11
Hold on.
last year?
Let me effort this.
He only threw 17 against Arizona. 17.
All right, you ready?
I bet he didn't
Nick?
throw 17. I bet he threw more than 17 and a quarter a dozen times last year. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, let's run through it. Last year, these are pass attempts for Will Rogers. 49, 48, 42, 50, 45, 49, 37, 60, 59,
60.
51, 37, 39, 44.
I mean, the 37 is kind of low, I guess. 60 passes. He threw more than 50 like 5 times there.
My man was 30 for 37 for 301 yards and 5 touchdowns against ETSU last year, mind you.
I was kind of afraid you were going to say it was against Ole Miss.
No, he was 27 for 39 in that one.
Yeah, they're running the ball more than 60% of their plays right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Jaquavius Marks is a good back, but
they're zagging where everyone else is zigging. So whatever. I mean, everyone in the world throws the ball all the time. If they want to run it, that's fine by me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they needed overtime last week after forcing 5 turnovers?
4 for sure.
I think it was
it was 4 interceptions, I believe. Yeah,
4 pick. Oh, yeah. They had the fumble.
Look, I mean, if y'all are not going to do it, I'm going to lock in something here. So give me under. I'm going to take the under. I want to lay the points with LSU, but they haven't looked great yet this year. I know they had a
great pick.
a blowout last weekend, but against FSU, they got embarrassed in the fourth quarter. But I just think they can look. So against Arizona State was +4 in turnovers, as we said. Don't they had 3 drives that started within the 50, on their own side of the 50. So they just had layups, and they still could not put Arizona away. Arizona had 7 more first downs than them. They outpassed State by 180 yards.
which
Arizona,
is crazy.
when they weren't turning the ball over, looked like the better team for most of that game. So I don't see how State scores here. LSU, we saw against Florida State, they can be had through the air. You can beat LSU over the top. Their corners are not impressive for the first time maybe in our lifetimes. It looks like they don't have a pro back there. But I don't think State can exploit that. Rogers' current ADOT, Zach, you linked this in the group text the other day. Average depth of target, ADOT, right? His is 5.1 yards. That's good for 120th out of 126 eligible quarterbacks. So they don't attack downfield. They don't have a vertical passing game. I don't think they can exploit LSU over the top. I don't think they have any interest in doing it. I think they're going to try to run the ball, punt, and play defense. On the other side, State's defense is adequate. They're not great, but I think they can stifle LSU enough to keep us under 55. I think it's going to be 31-13 LSU. 31-20 LSU. Both of those get us under the number. So under 55.
I just want to comment and say, I mean, I piggyback on what you said, but LSU being 9.5-point favorites when Vegas doesn't really love them. I mean, they're not like enamored with them. They didn't have them top 5 like the preseason polls did. They had them in that like 16 to 20 range, and that's kind of where they've got them right now too. That says a lot about MSU. So they'd be what 15, 16-point favorites if this game was at LSU. That's a lot of points for a team not named Alabama or Georgia to be favored over you by. I mean, that I think that says a lot about MSU here and what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to be able to run against LSU front. Ultimately, LSU's. I mean, they're still pretty talented up front. I understand they've
Mason Smith back now.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just a 1-game thing, wasn't it, for him?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I didn't see much of their game last week against Grambling. I assume he probably had a pretty good game. He's a big guy up front. I don't think they're going to have a lot of success running against LSU. This under here is a great play, though.
Agree on the under. I don't really know what to make of the line because, part of me thinks that, that it's just going to be, played in the mud and just rock fight slow. I mean, which is so weird considering what State's been for the past few years under the Pirate. But I like the under pick. I'm going to take the points. I'm not locking anything in, but just given the style of play right now, LSU's not been great. State gets them at home, but what negates that a little bit, the home field advantage is an 11 a.m. kickoff. Really it comes into more to play like 2:30 or later. Really the night game,
right?
But
11 a.m. is dove season too, so.
Yeah. Oh, true. People do forget that.
I mean, I was gonna say, I don't know if it was said sarcastically, but it was meant like real. Like it actually is dove season, and I do know actual MSU fans that are dove hunting this weekend. Not
me too.
Football game.
Me too. They'll be watching it from the dove blind. So
100%.
Anyway, give me. I'm going to take the points if for no other reason to be contrarian. I don't really know. I mean, this 9.5-point game. That in line, that's just a big number at home in the morning to an LSU team that's just not great. Just give me the older quarterback and I'll take my chances. I mean, this is not a game that I would play, I don't think, on the spread, but I will likely take the under in real life.
Yep. Love it. I too would do that if I was betting real paper money.
Yep.
All right. Staying at 11 a.m. over on SEC Network, we've got a Big 12. I guess an old Big 12 rivalry, Big 12 SEC matchup at Faro Field in Columbia, Missouri. Number 15, Kansas State travels to Mizzou. The Tigers got all they could handle from MTSU last week. The Blue Raiders had the football with a chance to drive down and win the game. Could not get it done. I just do not see what, if anything, Missouri could do to make me fear them at this point. They at least throw the ball to Luther Burden. That's cool. I'm going to go ahead and lock this one in. K-State.
No.
I can get it.
You wouldn't stop talking.
I can get it at 3.5.
What? Who? Where?
FanDuel.
Oh,
Bet
dang.
MGM.
I had 4, and I just call me Joe Public, call me a square here. I can't. How? Kansas State's winning this game by 6 or 10 points.
Yeah, somebody could, if you want to be a contrarian here, you could say, well, Zach, the line's really low. There's got to be a reason for that. I have no idea why this line is so low. Maybe people are looking at the style of play that K-State, they're kind of honestly, K-State plays a lot like what Mississippi State is trying to play like right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
they actually have the personnel to do it.
They do, and
the coaching pedigree. I mean, how long has he been doing that for? Decade.
Yeah, and Ben mentioned taking the older quarterback, and Will Howard is an experienced dude under center. I feel like he's going to be ready on the road, and it's not like Faurot Field is a raucous environment by any means, especially at 11 a.m., like we just said for the LSU State game. Yeah, I just think Kansas State's the better team. This just, maybe it's fishy with the line being what it is, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to get too in the weeds with that and just pick the better quarterback, the better team, the better coach.
I've said my piece. Kansas State, again, there's probably a reason, and everyone's saying like, "Whoa, why is this line so low?" There's probably a reason for it, and I'll lose. But like, sometimes you just got to go with your gut. Kansas State's a better football team than Missouri, who looks like kind of bordering on a bad football team at this point.
Yeah,
and I don't think Kansas State is that. I think that Kansas State's style of football that they play travels. Doesn't really have to travel all that far. So the next state over, it's probably 3-4 hours between Manhattan and Lawrence. I'm sure that or from Manhattan and Columbia. So I'm sure there'll be some K-State fans there. That style of football travels. I don't see this one being all that close. I just don't think Missouri's very good.
I did see some weird stuff. They're having to bus in apparently because the airport in Manhattan's like under construction or something. So they're busing over. But like you said, Nick, it'd be different if they were busing to Los Angeles. I mean, it's a state over. It can't be that far.
I mean, here's my question: do they normally fly that? That seems like a really short flight.
I think so. I think they would have, but look, I can't add much. Y'all, I completely agree right down to the fact that this line stinks, which is why I'm staying away from it.
Stinks.
But Zach, I think, summed it up perfectly when he said better quarterback, better coach, better roster, short number. K-State won 40-12 last year. 40-12. Now they don't have Deuce Vaughn anymore, but was Deuce Vaughn and home field advantage, was he worth 28 points? Like I don't think he was worth that much.
And another thing to consider, they absolutely mauled a good Troy team last week.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, it's 3 hours and 54 minutes between the two campuses. Like, so subtle about money to spend, Kansas State. I mean, geez. I mean, if Ole Miss ever flies to Vandy, come on.
They got that long money up in the little apple, Nick.
So Kansas State's, they've not played anybody yet, but they do have 20 TFLs on the season already.
That's so many.
Jeez.
I mean, they're number one defense in the country against the run. Now they have played SEMO and Troy, but Troy's good. I mean, that's a good program, good team. Troy, let's just call Troy Middle Tennessee equals, which I don't know that that's necessarily true, but let's just call it that. Think about what Kansas State did to Troy compared to what Missouri did to Middle in Como. I think that the line, frankly, stinks because it just is too good to be true.
But Vegas doesn't win every time. I mean, Vegas loses
they don't.
A lot. It's very possible that the line stinks and they just stunk on this one.
Well, and Vegas is, as we've said 1,000 times, and again, if you're listening to a gambling podcast, you probably know this stuff. But Vegas line is reactive to money movement, one direction or the other, too. So, as you all know, this is not a prediction of the game necessarily. This is where they're trying to minimize exposure in some cases, or in many cases.
They just collect the juice, right?
So,
This is not your granddad's Troy State normal school either. I mean,
that's right.
John Summerall's got a decent program over there now.
Oh yeah.
And SEMO, again, FCS team, but it's not the worst FCS team in the world.
No. And yeah, I was shocked at how bad they whipped Troy last week. I thought Troy would put up a little bit more of a fight. And again, 40, what did I say, 45 points for K-State? That's putting up some points. All right. Speaking of putting up points, 2:30 CBS. We have got the Gamecocks and the Bulldogs. Do they have a name for this rivalry game? I thought about that earlier. I don't think they actually do.
Wait, what's clean old fashioned hate?
That is Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Tech.
Oh yeah. Okay, good
Because
point.
the oldest rivalry in the South is Georgia Auburn.
Yeah,
that's right. I do know this. South Carolina fans not big fans of Georgia.
Nope, they hate them. We actually ordered the kiddos some swag because they had grown out of the stuff from the previous years and ordered some stuff from Gamecock Traditions, and they sent Beat Georgia stickers in the package. So. I'm trying to. There's no Wikipedia, at least to my knowledge, of this rivalry. So maybe there's not an official name. All right. I don't think it's going to matter what the name of the rivalry game is. I like Georgia to win. The number is 27.5. I have a feeling
27.5, and the game's in Athens, obviously.
Yes, it is. Now, I mind you, this is not a look ahead spot because they have UAB next week. Because if you haven't taken a look at Georgia's schedule, it is softer than expletive soft object here.
Yeah, and it's really, really soft early because like their two toughest games are in back-to-back weeks, Ole Miss, Tennessee.
And that's in November.
Yeah.
That's we've talked about this a lot, Nick. It's why the ticket prices for the November 11th game with Ole Miss are so high, because it's going to be their best home game. Y'all are probably going to say I'm an idiot or maybe a homer, or I'm letting my marriage cloud my judgment here. Give me South Carolina to cover this. I don't think South Carolina is good, but I think that they're going to be good enough with Rattler and Xavier Legette to at least score 17, 20 points. Maybe I'm insane. This schedule gives me vibes of Georgia last year, where they just kind of coasted and had a couple scares. I'm not saying South Carolina is going to scare them. I don't think South Carolina wins, but 27.5 is a lot for an SEC East matchup. I'm not locking it in. I'm taking them to cover that.
Is there anywhere you can give me 28?
Efforting.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Ben. While I debate.
So
it's all 27.5.
Rattler's not going to be the problem. It's the offensive line that's so bad.
Yep.
I mean, they were bad against North Carolina. They were bad against anyway. This is not. I'm going to have to lay the points. The one concern I've got is Georgia's offensive coordinator is Mike Bobo again, and he's just terrible. I mean, everybody talks about how bad Georgia looks. It's because of Bobo. I mean, let's just be real.
Why did they hire him?
I don't know, and it's the second time there. It's like they didn't learn their lesson the first time. But I'm gonna lay on, but this is just like absolute degeneracy. There's nothing good about. I mean, because Georgia's either going to win by 24 or 31, and you're going to be sweating the entire time. So, at the same time, it could be 45-0. What was the score last year in this game?
48-7.
48-7. That's the largest margin of victory in this series.
Yeah, that confirms it for me. I'm going to lay the points.
I agree with Ben here, and for largely the same reasons, I would have to lay the points. I mean, South Carolina, their offensive line has been awful. North Carolina had 9 sacks against South Carolina in the opener, and they couldn't protect Rattler last week either against Furman.
And it's not like Rattler's a statue.
No, not at all. And
he's an athletic guy.
He's played pretty well, but he's dealing with the jailbreak every time the ball is snapped. This is not the defensive line to have to face when you have absolutely no pass protection. Now, I will say this. Georgia doesn't necessarily excel at rushing the passer. Their sack numbers are actually pretty pedestrian.
Do you know how many they have so far?
How many?
They have 0 sacks through 2 games.
Yeah. Now, they do get pressure on the quarterback, though, and they absolutely shut down the run game. So, my guess is this is the game where Georgia's D-line gets right and they start to log some sacks, just because South Carolina can't protect, man. They can't protect against anybody, much less blue chip players on the other side of the ball. Um, the other thing, you would think with Kirby and Beamer's relationship, it seems to be pretty good. They work together, I think, right? In the national championship
Ye-
staff a few years ago, or at least on the team that played for the title a few years back.
yeah.
But that didn't seem to stop him from running it up last year. So for whatever reason, Kirby seems to like the guy and also be inclined to whip his ass whenever they play. So I, I would have to lay the 27.5 if I do anything here.
Okay. One thing to note, I'm not saying this is going to change the win-loss column result, but Juice Wells is cleared to play. He is their best weapon on offense outside of Xavier Legette, so they will have him back. And then in terms of a nickname for this game, there is something called the Border Bash.
Oof.
It is an annual event held in Augusta, Georgia, on the banks of the Savannah River, celebrating the rivalry. It is held on the Friday prior to the game, and it's supported by numerous business and private sponsors from both sides of the river, and regularly draws close to 10,000 fans from both fan bases, and proceeds are used to support numerous children's charities from around the CSRA through the Border Bash Foundation. So how about that?
Border Bash, you learn something new.
Yeah.
I'm actually inclined to go towards South Carolina a little bit here. I mean, listen, I acknowledge they've given up a lot of sacks. I acknowledge that's a bad thing against a Georgia front that is, if they haven't shown it yet, they're probably still pretty talented. But I just kind of think they're going to put up like 10 to 14 points. And I don't think Georgia's breaking like 35 here. So, yeah, like you said, Austin, either they're win by 24 or 31. Either way, you're sweating it. I just think it's going to be like 24. I don't think that South Carolina is going to like beat them or anything. But Georgia is, I mean, listen, they didn't do it last year, but I get it. They won the title. But I'm saying they almost lost that game to Missouri, right? And then they played that game against Ohio State in the playoff and almost lost. If they lose those 2 games, how much differently are we thinking of that Georgia team? And again, if you could change 2 outcomes of games, Ole Miss would be whatever. But point is that if you do change the 2 outcomes of those games, we're talking totally differently about Georgia. They're not the 2-time defending national champions. They lost to Missouri last year. They were this close to not being national champs and not being a 2-loss team. I think they're a little bit fallible still, and I definitely worry a little bit about that offense, especially without the playmakers they had last year. So again, if I could ever get it at 28, I might lock it in. But at this point, I may circle back, but for now, I'm just taking plus 27.5.
I forgot to mention too, Kirby's doing that weird thing where he's trying to find angles to motivate his team, and he's just like imagining disrespect around every corner. Did y'all see this where he criticized the South Carolina player who at SEC Media Days was asked about the most hostile environments he played in, and the guy was like, I don't know, Texas A&M was pretty hostile, and I can't even remember what he said, but he didn't say Georgia. And Kirby like specifically called that out in his press conference this week.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Oh, Kirby.
Georgia just constantly disrespected.
The guy probably hadn't even played it at UGA. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He probably was like out that game and has no idea. I mean, they only played there 2 years ago. It was probably 11 a.m. kick or something.
Okay, the only other notable SEC matchup this week before we get into the rest of our locks. Number 11, Tennessee, traveling to the Swamp, 6:00 ESPN. I'm gonna keep this one brief. I like the Vols here. I am seeing, what am I getting here? Get it at 6. I'll lay the points with the Vols. We've talked about it enough. We did preseason. We reacted after the Utah game. I don't think Florida's very good. And I don't care if it's in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. I don't think the Swamp is what it used to be. Yeah, it's a night game. Yeah, Tennessee normally doesn't play well there at night. I'm throwing all that out the window. I like Josh Heupel. I still think this Tennessee team has a lot of intrigue and a lot of potential to win 9 games, and then maybe screw around and catch a bounce and win 10. But I think that they're going to be perfectly fine on the road. Graham Mertz doesn't scare me whatsoever. And I like Joe Milton to probably throw an errant pass at some point and hit someone that's not paying attention in the crowd. But yeah, I like Tennessee to win. I like them to cover 6.
I don't think that Florida's very good at all. I mean, it's not much to say about that. The line being 6 seems a little low. I guess it would be like 12, 13 points if this was in Knoxville. But, I mean, I don't know. I still think, like I said, Tennessee's still a pretty good football team. I don't know that Florida's figured it out. Worried a little bit last week when we watched what Utah did to Baylor. They struggled a good bit. What did that say about Florida? I mean, I don't think Florida's going to be able to put up enough points to keep it within 6.
So since 1971, which is as far back as I could find it, this is the largest spread in a Tennessee-Florida game with Tennessee being favored. So Tennessee's never been favored by 6 or more at
Goodness
Florida.
Gracious.
At
Florida.
At Florida. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's telling. But I'm with y'all. I don't see many reasons to like this Florida team. They had a lot of empty calories against Utah. Like late in the game, they threw the ball quite a bit, and Mertz racked up some passing numbers, but they were meaningless and didn't really impact the game at all. They were not able to run the ball against Utah at all. And if they can't run, I don't know what's Florida's plan in this game. I mean, I assume Napier is going to want to shorten the game and try to grind one out. But if they can't run the ball, you're really going to trust Mertz to go tit for tat with Milton in this Tennessee offense? I don't know. I don't see a path to victory for them. At the same time, I don't like being on the other side of a literal historic number. So I want to take another way out here, and it's a shitty card this week, so I've got to get some action on the prime games. I'm going to go under 59. I'm going to lock that in.
Yeah.
I don't see Florida scoring much at all. Look, Tennessee's offense gets all the pub, and rightfully so, but their defense has improved from last year. They're pretty stout on that side of the ball. Now they haven't faced, great offensive competition yet this year, but I think their run D is pretty strong, and I think that's what Florida's going to have to do is try to establish the ground game. Mm-hmm. I just think Tennessee's going to shut that down. We're going to be looking at a lot of 3 and outs and running clock, a lot of punts from the Florida side, and then Milton on the other side. This will be undoubtedly the most hostile environment he's played in his career. The swamp at night. Fans are going to be crazy. So, I think even if Milton is relatively successful, relatively effective, I still don't see them putting 40 on the board or anything like that. I think Tennessee plays in the low to mid 30s. I think Florida may not even get into the 20s. So, I don't know. Let's call it 30-14, something like that. Pretty ugly game. Maybe Florida hangs for a half, and the home crowd keeps them in it. I just think late in the game, the better quarterback, the better skill players are gonna prevail. And honestly, I think Tennessee's got the better defense too. So I just think they have too much ammo, too much firepower, and they're going to be able to suffocate this anemic Florida offense.
Florida's terrible. I'm going to lock in Tennessee -6.
Yeah.
The line is also a little stinky just because it seems a little too good to be true, but Florida they just don't have the. If Florida was wearing a different jersey, let's call it Kentucky, this line is 14.
Mm-hmm.
This is a helmet. They're getting too much respect because of their helmet, probably from the public. I don't know what it opened at, 8, 7, 5. I don't know, but if I could get 5.5, I'll take it. If y'all can find that, but I'll play 6 unless I'm told otherwise.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
Are you looking at cutting your health insurance premiums by as much as 20 to 30%? Are you aging into Medicare and need help finding a Medicare supplement plan? Call Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group at 601-953-8449. Drew is an Ole Miss grad located in Mississippi and licensed in 7 states. He works with the nation's second largest health insurance brokerage with access to 35 different carriers, and he can help you with any of your health insurance needs. From regular health plans to life insurance to dental and vision and even Medicare, he has it all covered. Now more than ever, it is critical to have a health insurance agent who is local and accessible. So call Drew Moak at 601-953-8449 and get your free quote today.
Florida, they don't have their quarterback's bad. They're not going to give Napier enough time. They're going to fire him at the end of the season, or I mean, maybe they give him next year, but I don't see that. And like we always said, they've only really won under 2 coaches ever.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It really is.
Yet they get. I mean, and I say win loosely. They're going to be 7 or 8 win team, but people act like Florida's 10, 11, 12 wins every single year. That's happened under 2 coaches. And so
Hall of Famers, they win when they have a Hall of Famer.
It didn't happen consistently under Meyer. I mean, they went 7-6 one year with Tebow, or 8-5.
Yeah.
So give me I'm gonna take Tennessee. I think they're gonna, I'm sure it'll be close and Florida will end up winning now that I'm doing this, but on paper, Tennessee's gonna exercise some demons in the swamp.
4 of Tennessee's past 5 road games have gone under the total. So that's good for you, Austin.
Wow. Nice. Yeah.
I just don't see it, man. I don't believe in Florida whatsoever. I don't believe in Billy Napier. I'm with Ben. I think his days are numbered. They are pushing hard on the recruiting trail, and I think that is the reason, because he knows what's coming. All right, so last one before we get into the rest of the locks. Georgia Tech at Ole Miss, 6:30 p.m. SEC Network. Right now, the line is 17.5. I'm seeing some 18. I'm seeing an 18.5. I've gone back and forth on this, and maybe this is what you literally do anytime you handicap a college football game. I can truly, my heart of hearts, I'm going with my brain, though. I think this is a game that Ole Miss handles from the jump, wins. It's never in doubt, but I think Georgia Tech covers. I think Ole Miss gets out to a healthy lead. They pull back a little. They start resting guys to get ready for Bama, which as an Ole Miss fan, you should be perfectly fine with that because next week is important. I could just see this one being like a bad beat if you take Ole Miss to cover and Georgia Tech punches one in late in the 4th. I could see this being like a 41-26 type game or something. I think Ole Miss is going to make a concerted effort to run the football, get Quinshon Judkins going, get the offensive line some confidence. And even if they can't, if Brett Key wants to stack the box, I think Jackson Dart, who has more completions over 20 yards than anyone in the country, will make them pay over the top. Jordan Watkins, Dayton Wade, Aiden Williams might have a big day with Trey Harris being out. Scary Franklin still working his way back. They're going to have to find some playmakers. Michael Trigg, hello. Nice of you to join us last week. Maybe you have another good showing. I think Georgia Tech covers, but I think Ole Miss wins comfortably, and it's never in doubt.
So this is another game where I tend to agree with most everything you said, except I think Ole Miss is going to end up covering, and I don't know that it's necessarily going to be because Ole Miss is trying to. I just think Georgia Tech is that bad. They took it to South Carolina State last week, but I'm pretty sick, and I actually watched the game, and South Carolina State was terrible. I mean, they got blown out by Jackson State week 1 and Charlotte week 2. And
Oh God.
yeah, and they had a little bit of, I mean,
They got
ironically, had a little
biffed.
bit of,
They got biffed.
second
Yeah.
quarter success against
Biff Bochy.
Georgia Tech. They run the like the it looks like a wishbone type option, except out of the shotgun. South Carolina State, so it doesn't even really
That's
give you a
dope.
good read on what Georgia Tech can do. Yeah, they're just not very talented. Haynes King is a nice player, I guess, but their quarterback. But I think he transferred from Texas Tech, if I'm remembering right. But
A&M.
yeah, that's what I meant. A&M. Yeah, but Ole Miss cruises, and I agree with you, Zach. It's I don't think it's ever going to be in doubt, but you know, it's Ole Miss wins by either 16 or 23, and you're sweating it out at the end. So I'm not betting this one, but I'll lean on the cover side.
Yeah, go
One
ahead,
last thing before you go, Austin. Sorry, I forgot to mention they gave up over 220 yards rushing to Louisville, and I'd hazard a guess that Quinshon Judkins, James Griffin, Ulysses Bentley are better running backs than what Louisville has.
I've got no doubt that we have better backs than Louisville. I'm just concerned about whether we have a better offensive line than Louisville and whether our offensive staff and offensive coordinator can scheme up a game plan that can actually exploit those advantages. I think we all have concerns after Tulane, and rightfully so. Um, I think Tulane's probably a little better than Georgia Tech. I don't know how much better. This is not the same Georgia Tech team from last year. That team last year was awful. Jeff Sims at quarterback, who is now throwing picks all over the place and turning the ball over for Nebraska. So they upgraded QB. I think they're playing hard for their coach so far this year. They had last year with Jeff Collins. I think we made them quit after that game. They seem to have bought it in. I don't think that they're a great team, but they were really competitive against Louisville for a half, and then Louisville kind of buried them in the second half. I expect our game to go a little bit like that game. I hope the margin is a little bigger than that game. Louisville only ended up winning 39-34, I think, or 38-34, but I think Georgia Tech covers. I'm not going to bet that. I'm never going to bet against Ole Miss, but I'm just concerned that we've got guys out at skill positions. Nobody has stepped up yet in their absence. I trust some of those guys in Jordan Watkins and Dayton Wade, but are they really elite playmakers and guys that you can count on, on 3rd and 8, or when you're behind the chains? I don't know. It was great for Trigg to make an appearance last week, as Zach said. Hopefully he continues to do that because God knows we need him to. I need to see our offensive line take a step forward. Last week was pretty discouraging. On the defensive side of the ball, though, look, I thought we played really well.
Dude,
Tulane's pretty good offensively, and look, even with the backup quarterback,
halftime adjustments.
yeah, even with the backup quarterback, that guy's not bad at Tulane. Like, he's not bad. Tulane's got some pieces at receiver too, so it was good to not play well and still win by margin.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that we can do that again this week and expect similar results. I think you're just kind of rolling the dice. If we don't put together a really good performance, Georgia Tech can make it uncomfortable for us late. So I think we need to set the tone early, try to put them away if we can in the first half, and if not, just salt them away late. Get the running game going. Let's get Quinshon going. Let's get Jam going. Let's get the Bentley on the outside. Let's use the running backs in the screen game. Let's hit them on some dump passes.
Please.
I feel like the offense has been lacking in creativity, to put it generously. So
Yeah.
maybe we get a little more creative this week.
What's the best medicine for a bad offensive line? A screen.
A screen, yeah, or a draw, something.
Help them out.
So I don't know. Hopefully the offensive staff did some self-scouting last week, and we come out. It sounded like, based on Kiffin's press conference, that he was really displeased with our effort. He, I think, put some of that on the coaching staff, some of it on the players. So hopefully, after a win and a week of building on things that we did do well against Tulane, we come out on fire early and just put Georgia Tech away. I'd never take the number here. I think the Rebs win, but we need to get in and get out and stay healthy.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot I can add to that other than to say, if it happens once, maybe it's an anomaly. If this, what we saw last week from the offensive line happens twice, it's certainly a trend. So we need to see something different. And I don't know if that's different players. I'm not very skilled at what I'm watching on the offensive line. It's just not what I'm great at. But I don't know if it's a player thing. I know we've got some players that are not playing now that played a lot last year. They're on the sidelines now. I don't know if they need to be out there, or if we're not calling the right plays, or if we're just getting whipped up front. It certainly seems like the latter one. But whatever we do offensively this week, it's got to start up front. And if we have another really bad week like we have, I'm not at this point like it. I don't know if it's fixable, because clearly if it was, the coaches would be doing it. So if we see it again this week, Georgia Tech, manhandles our offensive front, it's going to be a long, long season, because it's obvious that we can't do anything to mitigate those losses up front. So that's what I want to see. I don't have anything else to add. That's just what I'm watching for this week. I think the Rebs are going to win. I kind of think we're going to cover. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout like last year, but I could easily see us by winning by 21, 24 points here.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Nick. I was going to say, if the offensive line woes continue, then it's going to be a concern.
Yeah,
it could be.
It's what it is. If it happens again this week, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, last week could have just been like, hey, it was Tulane Super Bowl. I mean, it was on the road.
That's not a bad D line. They had a pretty decent D line.
No, they did.
No, they had a plan. Fritz is a good defensive coach.
They're incredibly well coached. I mean, they have a great staff, especially for that conference at that level. Like, Fritz is incredible, man. I mean, he's got a track record of success. They were ready for us. They wanted that game badly.
Oh yeah, I mean that was they had a game plan and they executed it. But Pete Golding was just better in the second half, and Jackson Dart did Jackson Dart things and carried the offense. So, yeah, it's certainly an interesting game because of everything that we just said. It obviously it could go one way or the other, but yeah, if I look up at 9:00 and Ole Miss is up 28 points, I wouldn't be shocked. All right. Before we get into the rest of our locks, I did want to remind everyone, podcast is brought to you by our friends at USA Benefits Group, Drew Moak and the rest of the team over there. Hey, it was a big week 2 for everyone, but the NFL week 1, it was a doozy. And there could be some players out there that, might want to look into cutting their health insurance premiums by at least 20, 30%. I don't know. It could be somebody up in New York that might be looking at that. If you're aging into Medicare and you need help finding a Medicare supplement plan, you can call Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group, 601-953-8449. He's an Ole Miss grad. He's located in Mississippi, but he's licensed in 6 other states as well. And he works with the nation's second largest health insurance brokerage with access to 35 different carriers. He can help you with any and all of your insurance needs. That's anything from regular health plans, life insurance, dental, vision. I don't think he covers ivermectin, but Medicare, he's got it all covered. Now more than ever, it's critical to have a health insurance agent that is not only local, but also accessible. That's Drew Moak to a T. Call him 601-953-8449, or you can visit usabg.com/DMOAK and get your free quote. All right. As we alluded to in the early stages of this here episode, the slate is not ideal for the our good buddy Jason Kirk. His watch grid was a tough scene this week.
Oof.
But
I gotta go with a start here.
Okay, I was gonna say I think there is potential for good picks this week. Maybe not good games, but I think there's some good picks. So Nick, you don't have one on the board yet. Let's get you one.
I've got you a great pick, and it is an awful game. So Iowa State travels to Athens. They go play at Ohio. The over/under I've got it at 42.5. The extra half point is key.
Don't you do it?
I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of what the the Cyclones have done this year. They lost to Iowa 13-20, and they beat UNI, that's Northern Iowa, 30-9. Ohio has 2-0. They're 17-10 against FAU and 27-10 against Long Island. This is going to be an old school slobber knocker. Iowa State is not very good at football. They're even worse at offense. Ohio, not bad at football, pretty good defense. They're going to slow it down. This is, you talk about like team Super Bowls. There's a Big 12 team going to Ohio. And I think we're going to kind of see this more in the future because like it's not as big of a deal, I think, to these schools to make, $1.5 million going and playing at, Iowa State. It's way cooler. And I think they make a similar amount of money by drawing in someone like Iowa State coming, to Athens. We're going to see more of these games in the future. You obviously saw Ole Miss go to Tulane, Ole Miss going to USA coming up, not in the not too distant future. So, enjoy these games because who knows how long, this type of football will last. But this one's going to be ugly. Again, great pick, terrible game, under 42.5.
Wow.
Jeez.
You want to talk about somebody that might also need to call Drew at USA Benefits Group, and that's Matt Campbell, because, dude, you missed your window and you need to just go ahead and retire.
Talk about living out your days in Ames,
Well, hold on
Iowa.
though. He may be interested in something that happened in East Lansing, Michigan this week.
Oh.
I mean, like, if
Is that a route they would take?
I don't know. I mean, he probably are going to have a few names before him, probably. But surely, if he gets a call, he's got to go, right? Like, this is it for you, man. You got to go.
If I had other options and Michigan State called me at this point after everything that's going on up there in the last, 6-7 years,
dude,
I'm not even picking up the phone.
They have displaced Penn State at number 1 on the Scandal Power Rankings in the Big Ten. Like, Michigan
with
State,
a vengeance.
It's a runaway at this point.
Okay, real quick. What if the folks up in East Lansing give Willie Fritz a call? What do you think? What do you think Williams doing?
That's what I would do if I was someone like Michigan State. I get it; he's kind of old. 63 years old, but I mean,
he's bouncing. Years. Yeah, he's bouncing for sure. I just don't think
D'Antonio was old.
Yeah, dude. I think a better one. What about Leipold?
Yeah,
and they call it. Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be good choice.
The hot board that was out earlier today, via our buddy Andy Staples, Sharon Moore, who's the OC at Michigan, young up and coming coordinator.
Yeah, no
but
way.
His name is going to be a hot name.
That was a favor for an agent to put him on the list.
It had to be a coordinator at Michigan to Michigan State. No way. I don't think either fan base would allow that.
Here's another juicy one. Brian Hartline, the OC at Ohio State. Is somebody going to give him a chance at being a head coach just to get 9 5-star receivers every cycle?
No way, man. They have to go Power 5 head coach. They have Big Ten money.
Yeah. They're like the 7th biggest school in the Big Ten, too. It's not. We're not talking about Northwestern here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They made a college football playoff. I'm not knocking you. You're just reading the list.
Yell at Andy, not me.
Jesus, Zach.
Go to hell. Shooting the messenger here. But
this is like when Ole Miss has a job opening. People are like, they need to call back David Cutcliffe. Call Billy Brewer.
Yeah. Troy Calhoun.
Only 17 teams have been in the college football playoff. They're one of them.
I know.
They made that. And if Ole Miss hired Mississippi State's offensive coordinator, I'm out.
He did that one time in 93. Except it was Joe Lee Dunn.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
3-year-old me was out.
No headset. They had to tell him he had to wear shoes. Goat. The other names on the list: Alex Atkins, who's the OC at Florida State. Dave Clawson. Little slow mesh up in East Lansing. How about that?
I just don't think Clawson's got to bounce for that. I don't. I think he kind of has a fit at Wake.
He's good there. Willie
Much
Fritz
better
is on
lifestyle in Winston-Salem than East Lansing.
For sure.
I would call one of the Kansas coaches. I would call
for sure. Yep,
Kansas or Kansas State, and I would say, bring your thing up here.
Here are the last two. Jamie Chadwell, who made probably the most head-scratching move of all time, but ultimately it came down to money. He went from Coastal to Liberty, which I guess I'm with Jamie. You'd have to pay me a hell of a lot of money to go to Liberty. And then Sean Lewis, who is the OC at Colorado, who is obviously making waves early.
Michigan State could hire Dion.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I wouldn't call Chadwell either. I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either.
Why
Not
would
if I'm
they
Michigan
need to
State.
hire Dion's coordinator? That
Well,
I don't want to get too off track here because we got some picks to make. But
yeah.
where do y'all put Michigan
sorry.
State? Top 25 program?
Yeah.
It's
similar to Ole Miss.
No worse than 30, right? I mean,
Yeah,
would y'all
around
be upset?
30. Yeah.
Would y'all be upset if we called Colorodo's OC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would be upset.
Now, Sean Lewis was a head coach. Was
Sure,
a Power 5
coach.
coach.
Freaking Lane Kiffin, dude. Like,
would y'all be upset if we called Jamie Chadwell?
Yeah. First,
Yes.
yeah,
He
for
was
sure.
on the list, but when Kiffin was looking to leave.
Michigan
dude,
State was paying Mel Tucker $100 million.
Exactly. They have exactly. You have to call a sitting Power 5 head coach first.
He has
They
85 guaranteed. Well, he's not getting it anymore, but
they are in
I
the
think
tier
this is all a setup
for.
to get rid of him because it wasn't working.
Yeah. I don't. Yes,
They
100%.
found any reason to.
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He may have done all that. I don't know, but wasn't there like a pre-existing relationship?
he admitted to doing
That's
it.
what he says. Yeah, he says they had a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're just using this because it's their out
If
because they knew
anything,
the direction it was headed.
if anything he says is true, and I mean, obviously he did some wrong things, but I'm saying if anything he says is true, that they were like friends and it talked a lot on the phone, and then like she texted him Happy Father's Day months after that. If anything he says is true, then they're 100% doing it to just get rid of him.
And
because
he's going to get some of that money if some of that's true. He's going to get some of that buyout.
Oh yeah, he's going to negotiate like $20 million out of them.
And if you're Mel Tucker, I mean, and why would you not just be like, look, I don't need the 85 million. How's 20, and I'll go away.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you not? I would sprint away with $20 million. Of course, I guess you don't have your reputation, but you're probably not getting that back either way. Just to be honest.
All right, I've got a pick.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Dion would take that job because at least Boulder is nice. Like,
yeah,
it's already cold in Colorado. I don't think he's going I used to work with someone that went to school at Michigan State. And I mean, they talked about going to school when like the snow drifts were like above their heads.
I don't think he'll take that job simply to wait on a bigger one, but that would be a step up from Colorado.
Plus, that part of the country, dude, East Lansing and their campus and shit, it's like the Soviet bloc. It's like going to school in fucking Uzbekistan.
Yeah, there's no Flash up there in East Lansing.
He could get that at College Station.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what's his name? Anyway, all right. So let's go to Troy, Alabama.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the Dukes of James Madison plus 3 at Troy.
Let's go.
You're not a big Troy guy.
You know, I like Troy, but I'm just a bigger JMU guy.
And my man is a big fan of the number 4.
Yeah,
That's
so James Madison. So Troy got wrecked last week. Look, Troy may end up winning the game. I mean, they could win 28-27 in James Madison covering. You get 3 at BetMGM, so I'm going to take 3 there. But James Madison's good. I think they already beat Virginia this year. I can't. Not that Virginia.
Yeah, they did.
But you know, that's a Power 5 win for them. This is a Sun Belt matchup. I think they're probably the class of the Sun Belt, or at least, you know, very, very tip top of it. So give me the Dukes plus 3 at Troy. And you also have to just do a body blow game. Troy coming off the Kansas State, who plays physical game, back the next week to play probably their toughest opponent or top 2 or 3 toughest opponents in conference play. That's just hard to get up for 2 weeks in a row. And not only that, but coming back to get up for this after getting leaned on by larger players, more physical players. I like James Madison to cover.
No, I like it. I also like the fact that it's bullshit that JMU can't compete in the conference championship, but I think because of that, they treat every one of these games like it is a championship.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Cherokee Valley Golf Course in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Get on over to see Cody Allen and the crew to take on the challenge of their wide, plush Zoysia fairways and large championship Bermuda greens. They have 2 putting greens to hone in your game with the flat stick, a driving range, and a chipping green to tighten up the short game. Book a tee time online at olivebranch.com or give them a call at 662-893-4444. That's Cherokee Valley Golf Course in Olive Branch, Mississippi. This podcast also comes to you thanks to Bluff City Advisory Group, Memphis's leading team of finance professionals who can provide advanced assistance with financial planning, pension, and qualified plan support, and business and estate planning strategies as well. Former Ole Miss Rebel and founding partner Ben Still, along with his elite-level customer service team, make it their goal to help you meet the ongoing demands of your financial needs. Learn about this and more at bluffcityadvisory.com. All right, I'm going to hop on the board here with this one. Nick already mentioned it earlier in passing when we were talking about the shakedown in East Lansing. I am going to lay the points with our friends in Durham, Bull City. Give me Duke, which is now turning into, are they turning into a football school? With Elko in the bunch?
Some people are saying it.
Some people
Now,
are saying it.
I wouldn't be upset if Ole Miss called him.
He's
Nope.
good, man.
He is a hell of a coach. I am seeing 18.5 across the board. Don't care. Northwestern is abysmal. Elko strikes me as a guy that is going to have his team ready. They're not going to take Northwestern lightly, no matter the controversy in the offseason, how bad they are.
What's Northwestern done since their first opener? Do you have that on hand?
Blew out UTEP.
Let me pull it up. They have
that didn't do anything for me.
They lost to Rutgers 24-7, and then they beat UTEP 38-7.
Why is this game not just a repeat of the Rutgers game, but Duke is better?
Yeah, people think Riley Leonard is a legit top 5 quarterback. He's certainly got a lot of NFL buzz. The defense is legit. They held Clemson to 7 points at home. Northwestern was god awful on the road at Rutgers, and that's a below average Rutgers team at best. So like Nick said, yeah, I mean, this is basically that game, but you're playing a Duke team that is good. Yeah, I like Duke by at least 3 scores here. 3 touchdowns, mind you. Yeah, come on. I feel like this is just begging you to take that. So I'm locking it in.
Yeah, I like that. I think Elko is too good of a coach to let Duke do anything other than just blow the doors off Northwestern, who is terrible. That's a good segue to my next lock. There were so many trash picks that I wanted to make, but I'm going to go with this one. So Northwestern, who is awful, beat UTEP last week by 30. So UTEP is now on the road at Arizona this week. And I'm going to be laying the points with Arizona. Let me take the Wildcats minus 18 against UTEP. If you watched Arizona against Mississippi State, you know that every time Jaden DeLaura drops back, it takes years off of your life. I mean, he can throw 4 picks in a game and then also have 5 touchdown passes. They have really good wide receivers, actually. Like I think a couple of NFL guys out wide.
They got the Jacob Cohen kid.
Yep.
Yep. And then the big man, the McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan. Yep. They got some weapons, man. UTEP doesn't have anybody on the roster that can keep pace with those guys. So Arizona, you would think, now that they're back home after going into overtime with State last week, licking their wounds a little bit, we want to right the ship and get back on in the scoring column, or in the win column, rather. I just think this is a complete mismatch. 3 touchdowns is not unreasonable. 42-14 Arizona.
Just a great pick.
I think UTEP may have quit too, man. I watched them in week 0 against Jacksonville State. They had a chance to win that game. They probably should have won the game. Their coach is a moron and cost them the game. Then last week they got blown out by Northwestern. And afterward, their coach apologized to the players in the press conference because he was so bad. Basically said, "I'm terrible. I'll do better." It's not something you can switch on and off. If you suck, you suck, and they suck.
What's the line again? I'm sorry.
18.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good pick.
Ooh. 8. Let's see. I can get you 17.5.
Oh yeah.
Love that. All right, my turn.
Go.
Okay, I am headed. We've talked about him before. We'll probably talk about him at least once more if I had to guess this season. It's where both Big Noon and College Game Day are going, which I don't. Just an aside, I don't know why College Game Day is going to Boulder this week. They host
I
UCLA
think
in
Big
like 2
Noon
weeks.
Kickoff just lives in Boulder now.
Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to host a bigger game. Even if they were to lose between now and then, they're going to host a bigger game than Colorado State at 9:00 at night. That I don't understand this. Colorado State's not any good at football. But what I am going to do is go ahead and lock in under. Let's make sure I get the number right. Under 61. And I know you're thinking, like, I don't know. They give up a lot of points to TCU. Colorado State's not TCU. Okay. They gave up a lot of points last week to Washington State. They're going to give up a lot of points this week to Colorado. What they're not going to do is score many points on Colorado. It's just not a great football team. It was 74 points last week against Washington State. I get that. They're actually coming off a bye, I believe, which is a little early in the season for a bye. Very interesting. But Colorado State's not good. Colorado is good.
Take buys every week.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a very odd thing. But I know Dion is like they've made it. He said that Colorado State made it personal. I think he just does that stuff because he can post it on Twitter and it looks cool. I don't think they actually truly care. The Colorado State's coach was talking about how Dion needs to take his sunglasses and hoods off at a press conference or whatever. I just think that Colorado is just a lot better than Colorado State. I've watched a lot of bad Colorado State games. I think this is still a bad Colorado State team and a pretty good Colorado team. Under 61.5. I think this game's going to be like 42-7, 49-7.
Yeah. The only thing that would worry me is Dion padding Shadur's numbers because he is clearly campaigning for the Heisman for him. They're leaving him in they're leaving him in late. He's exposing him to injury in garbage time just to pile up numbers. So I would just worry that Shadur throws for a touchdown with like 30 seconds left and Colorado goes over 50 by themselves.
And they very easily could do that. I mean, they'll put up some points. I just think, I don't know. I mean, you look at it, his over under is 341.5, by the way. So that's a pretty crazy number to have as your over under. I just don't think Colorado State's going to score hardly at all. So, and you're right, that is a point, but hopefully they don't, Colorado's not breaking 54. So,
yeah.
I've got my third, unless Zach, do you only have one?
Yeah, Nick and myself and you need one more. Fire away, big man.
So, for pick 3, we're going to go to Champaign, Illinois.
I see you working, dog.
And we're going to lay 14.5 with Penn State.
I love it.
Can anybody tell me who Illinois' leading passer is?
Well,
I know who their leading rusher is.
Yeah.
And it's the same guy, isn't it?
Same guy. Same guy. And so, look, Illinois, they got wrecked. No, don't get me wrong. This is against my religion to take it. It's really a knee-jerk bet because Illinois goes to Kansas, who's not bad, frankly, or at least they didn't look bad last week. Illinois gets kind of blown out. The score shows better than what it actually was. And they come back to play Penn State. One would expect the line to be more like 20.5, 21.5, and not just 14.5. I don't really care. I don't think Illinois is any good this year. And I'm a Bielema guy. Like, y'all know that. I take them a lot. This is not the year. It has nothing to do with Luke Altmaier. I pull for Luke Altmaier. Matter of fact, other than this pick, I'll pull for Illinois all season long because I like their coach and I like their quarterback. But I don't see it here. Penn State's very good, and their quarterback is having a really good year and going to be a Heisman type player either by the end of this season or next season. So
Drew Aller is that dude.
Ahead. Yeah, he's very good. I mean, he's like a future number 1 overall draft pick good. And so, give me Penn State minus 14.5 on the road. That hook is a huge number, but I'm seeing 31-13 Penn State wins, and I think that's right on the total number. I think the total is 43.5. No, it's 48.5. And I think it goes under 48.5. So give me the Nittany Lions.
Penn State is 4-0 against the spread as a road favorite since last year. So I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
And Drew Aller's like Ben Roethlisberger big, dude. He's like huge.
He might be like what Christian Hackenberg, like the hype he had, but I think Drew Aller's actually going to be legit.
Yeah,
He may be what Franklin has been missing at Penn State. They've had elite running backs, really good receivers, crazy good defensive players, but they haven't had an elite quarterback under Franklin. This may be the guy.
Was Saquon under Franklin, or was he before Franklin?
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, and they got 2 dudes at running back right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Dude, Franklin had Saquon and Miles Sanders.
I know.
This may be his chance to make a run
and
at
Micah
Big Ten
Parsons.
Championship.
And Micah Parsons, yeah.
And Micah Parsons.
All right, who's ready to get weird?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Let's go.
And by getting weird, I mean jumping on a big line when a team is coming off an emotional, monumental college football playoff signature win.
Oh God.
That's right.
We're taking Ole Miss? Oh.
We're going to DKR to Austin, Texas, and we're keeping it weird, baby. Wyoming will be in town, and I can get it at 30. So lock me in for Wyoming
so many points.
plus 30.
Wyoming could do the funniest thing ever.
Oh my God. It would be hilarious.
My entire kingdom for that to happen. Wyoming is 4-0 against the spread against AP ranked teams since 2016. They have covered each of its past 3 games against Texas. Texas is winning this football game. Texas is I did the whole intro there, and I'm poking fun. And I thought the whole thing with Matthew McConaughey being on Pat McAfee's little sideline circus bullshit was cute and all that and whatever. But Texas with Tuscaloosa and whipped Alabama, and that was a big win. And I think Texas might be legit. The jokes might be running out at this point, but this is a just textbook snoozer where Wyoming is going to just absolutely sit on the football as long as they can. They're going to shorten this game. Quinn Ewers and company are going to handle it. Give me 30 points, though. I mean, come on. This is, what are we even doing here? I mean, this is a classic Craig Bowl. I mean, this is like a reverse crockpot game here, where like they're going to try to shorten it and play keep away, and maybe it'll work for a little bit. I think it's going to work enough to cover 30 points, though.
I like it. Especially, after last week, Texas is sky high, and they have little old Wyoming coming into town.
They've had Kevin Durant and Drake on campus this week.
What aren't they? What are they? 2 weeks away from the OU game? Isn't it in early October? Maybe 3 weeks away.
So they've got Baylor next week.
Point is, they've
Kansas,
got some games coming
Oklahoma.
up. Okay, they got some games coming up. So, like you said, you can't play up for every single game.
I also think weirdly that teams don't take Wyoming seriously for whatever reason.
Yeah, and Wyoming's not trash. I don't think Texas Tech is great, but they did beat Texas Tech in overtime.
Yeah. And
And
Wyoming's
look,
built to cover a number like this because they can shorten the game. They're just going to run the ball
yeah.
3 times, punt and play defense. I mean,
Man, if you told me this game was like 31-6, like okay.
mhm.
I mean, and also maybe this is me trying to talk myself into it, but I kind of feel like it can go either way with like a late kick where like Texas has all day to sit around, all day to watch the highlights from last week. They got all day to just hang out and do whatever. Like this is almost a game where I bet Sark is like, I wish this was an 11 a.m. kick so we could get out there and just play.
Yeah, get it over with.
It's on the Longhorn Network if you want to watch it, folks.
Well, I
Is that
will
still a thing?
not be tuning in. Yeah, are they keeping
Parent-
that next year?
On ESPN's site, it says LHN. I
I'm
don't think they're
wondering-
keeping that for
I
when they
would
get to
be
the
very
SEC. They
obnoxious.
don't need to. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The Longhorn Network was initially created to combat the SEC network as like we got
Yeah.
our own channel.
How'd that go?
Yeah, let's hope not.
Yeah. All right, Nick, take us home.
All right, here we go with the final one. I have, I mean, I honestly don't know why I didn't call it earlier. The one of these teams in here is actively bad. The other one is a decent team that played okay against Penn State. It's the eat shit Pitt game, backyard brawl, West
Yeah.
Virginia hosting Pitt. The line opened at -1. It's moved to -2.5, which is good for me. Let me rephrase, which is good for me in terms of people are on my side here. I don't really know why the line's so small. I don't think Pitt's very good. Like, I don't know what part I'm missing about Pitt lost to Cincinnati, who is not a good football team. This is not your like very slightly older brother's Cincinnati team. They're not good. I mean, and they lost to Cincinnati last week, 27-21. I think West Virginia is like decent. I mean, they played some decent football at times against Penn State. I don't really get why the line's so small. It's at West Virginia. You're telling me if this game was on a neutral site, it'd be at Pick'em? Yeah, get locking in the ears, Mountaineers.
Yeah.
West Virginia, take me home.
Even crazier, Nick, it opened with West Virginia as the dog.
That's absurd. What are we missing here? I don't know. It's West Virginia. I think people have in their mind they're like a Big East team or something. I mean, they're a Power 5 program, and Pitt is Pitt.
And
I don't know.
One of the most hostile home field environments in college football, and especially for this game, like this is going to be banana. There will be couches burning at breakfast on Saturday.
I'm so thankful that in
The tram on campus
ABC
won't even run out of just safety precautions.
It should.
Yeah, 100%. No reason to. I can't wait for this game. I hate our games at the same time. Of course, like the one time I'd like to be watching the game, we're also playing.
Yeah.
But this game is gonna be a fun one. This is like you talk about like old school college football. This is the type of game we're talking about. This is a fun one.
And last thing about that, Nick, if people are just box score watching, they may have thought that West Virginia in week 1 against Penn State was a lopsided loss. As we know, because I was on West Virginia, Franklin scored with 6 seconds left to cover the spread.
Yes.
West Virginia hung around that entire game. That game was so much closer than the final score indicated.
Yeah, 4-score game at the end. Right, I guess 3 scored technically with some, 2-point conversions, but like it looked like a beatdown. It was not that beatdown at all. No, West Virginia is not a bad team. I just don't know what I'm missing here. Maybe the line stinks, but like typically lines stink on the road. And you're like, wow, how's that team only favored by 2 points? They're so much better. A line stinking at home? Give it to me.
Yep.
All right. There's your 12 locks for week 3. Last week the group went, let me count them up, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 4.
Everyone knows you take 2 off the tee. You know what I mean? First week didn't count.
Breakfast ball. Austin 3-0, Ben 2-1, Nick 1-2. Nick, I did feel for you. I was shocked that the Texas Bama went over, and it wasn't by much. And then I can't believe I've taken this long to take this victory lap with the Oregon flag running around the track for everybody to cheer for me. The back door of the millennium with that one.
Look, I was on the right side of that Texas-Alabama game. I'm sorry, but that was a low-scoring game, like midway through the third quarter.
Oh,
it
man.
was
Texas just stopped.
What was it? 13?
Not scoring.
Was it like 13-9?
I need to go back and look at the drive chart. I think they scored like 6 of the last 7 possessions.
I think there was 3 touchdowns in like 2.5 minutes at one point.
Yeah, it was just constant. So
Yeah,
I was on the right side.
Yeah, it was. Was it 13-9 or 13-6? No, it was 13-9 because Bama took the lead. Alabama, Jalen Milroe throws honestly, it was a pretty ball to Jermaine Burton in the corner, and then Texas just boom comes back and answers, and then after that, it was off to the races.
And they stopped. They wouldn't stop answering.
Just
they answered them so
Quinn
hard.
Ewers was like, "Oh, this is sick! I could just throw the ball really far, and my guys go and catch it."
Yeah, Quinn Ewers.
That was his first. Good. The Xavier Worthy throw, the first touchdown, I believe. That was his first. I believe it was his first touchdown pass over 20 yards in his career.
Yeah, and then I think he had 3 on the day. Yeah, he might actually be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm holding a 10
Is Arch Manning going to transfer?
He should.
He's going to transfer to. He's going to take over for Michael Pratt.
Oh, that's actually a good call.
Go to Uptown. I mean, the Mannings have like 5 houses over there already.
Yeah, you could live at home. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little easy commute. Yeah, I mean, look, Quinn Ewers, I think he got the haircut. But dude, you're throwing to Xavier Worthy, you're throwing to AD Mitchell, like that, dude. That's good living, right? That's good, clean living right there. I don't know if y'all saw the clip of AD Mitchell, one of his touchdown catches into the Alabama student section. Did y'all catch when he caught it and then looked at the student section and said, "Remember me"?
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
It's almost as good as remembering that AD Mitchell was an Ole Miss commit at one time.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Tough scene. All right. That's going to do it for week 3, gentlemen. This was always a pleasure to chop it up with y'all. I'm already just geeked for week 4. That podcast is going to be a doozy. The slate, folks, if you're listening, go ahead and give it a look. It's clear your schedules for next Saturday. It's going to be phenomenal. But that is going to do it for Hit That Line. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube page, the YouTube channel, Ole Miss Spirit. All the podcasts will be there if you would like a visual medium. This one is not a visual medium, but you could still give it a listen, give it a like, smash that like button, as they say in the business. And, of course, stay locked in at omspirit.com, an affiliate of On3. We will have all the news and notes leading up to Saturday's game against Georgia Tech, 6:30 SEC Network. So with that, that'll do it for Hit That Line week 3. Until we reconvene, we out.